what are some lessons learned as far as training is concerned that when you look back now, you have years and years of training experience to build the physique that you did, which was incredible. You competed at Worlds, competed at the Yorton Cup, very high level natural bodybuilding competitions, maybe the highest, especially the Yorton at that time, right? What would you do differently? Like if you could go back in time, is there anything you would change? I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, when I first started, I was absolutely clueless. So I'd do far too much pushing, not enough pulling, didn't understand about the function of different parts of my body. So I'd probably spend a lot more time looking at that and addressing any dysfunction and issues and stuff as you go along. That's all well and good if you're armed with that information. At the time, it wasn't really something that was very well circulated. Whereas nowadays, like there's really no excuse. Like today is a brilliant time to choose to be a bodybuilder. There's guys that have been training 2 years, 3 years that look the way I did after 10 because they're armed with the right information. I spent so much time kind of like spinning my wheels, not really getting anywhere. Aside from that, I would probably say it's effort. The biggest determining factor in training is effort. So it doesn't matter what principles you're following, it's effort. And continue to push and challenge what you believe to be your best and what your perception of hard work is. Because for myself anyway, when I thought I was working hard, I actually had another gear. And I think when you reach that next gear, you're able to find another gear. It's what you're used to. So you don't know what hard work feels like until you're there. So you think you're working as hard as you possibly can, but that's only because you haven't experienced that next level of effort. And I think the faster you can acquire that, as long as it's within safe parameters, like in terms of your execution and how your training looks as a whole, that is what's going to get you the most results and fastest and obviously safest as well.
So when you say turn it up a notch, right? And you don't know until you're there, of course you have, okay, we're going to train to all out momentary muscular failure. You cannot lift the weight anymore. And then you get into maybe an isometric. Is that the next gear? An
So,
eccentric? Is that the next gear? Or are you talking about more so adding maybe more volume? Or is there multiple ways you're thinking about this?
so mainly I'm thinking about the effort within a set, and you can apply it to volume and everything else, but that's the most tangible thing that you've got that's going to teach you instantly the difference between work. So you might think, oh, I couldn't have done another rep. Actually, yeah, you could, but you just don't know what it feels like to go for that rep while you feel the way you do. And later on, and you can even, I can even go further than that. So let's say you can put forth a stellar amount of effort within one set. That's different again from off season when everything's fine and rosy. Don't get me wrong. Like when you prep for shows, it's not dark all the way through. It is. It should be relatively unchanged. You should be functioning fine most of the time. However, there are the times in life when things are really, really hard. Put a diet on top of that where your body fat's really low and your body's not really in a happy place. Pushing through and doing those really, really hard reps when you're feeling like that is where you need it here. And I think you build mental fortitude over time by pushing yourself. And if you challenge your perception of hard work, you can teach yourself to push through, and you end up putting forward so much more work than what you would have done within a set 5 years ago.
So do you feel that that's been a big thing for you as far as one of the requirements to build the physique that you did?
Yeah. I think my physique came because I just loved training, and I'd do it until I was knackered and tired. And I think what it was is I trained on my own a lot of the time, like where I lived, and during that time there was no social media. I had no concept of what other people were doing because I was always on my own in Norwich, small little place, training in a gym with other people that were similar to me, just training really, really hard. And it wasn't until I trained with other competitors later down the line I realised actually, well, wasn't really looking at myself. I was thinking they train like a pussy, and then I trained with someone else. They train like a pussy as well, and not everyone, but a lot of good competitors too. Like, how the fuck do they like that if they're not even putting the effort in? Can you imagine how much better they would be if they would just do this, to just do that? Yeah, there could be people that are a lot better than they are. If I was to take, say, a back exercise that I struggle to connect with, I can give as much effort as I want within that set. I'm not going to stimulate my back anymore. I need multiple go-rounds at it to fatigue that body part. And it might be a similar thing for people like that. And I think it certainly was for me earlier on, not being able to exert that amount of effort within one set. I certainly needed multiple go rounds. So I needed a few sets to accumulate to get the job done. It's like a transferable thing. Once you know what that level of work feels like and you've got that mental fortitude, you can apply it to so many other areas of your training and your preparation for shows. And it just helps you so much.
What I want to ask you is, when you transitioned into this high intensity training, can you give like a sample routine for those listening, how that looked, and when did that evolution come about? Like a phase of that, for example. Was it similar to what you did, just chop down the sets, or?
No. So if you go really early on in my training career, again, this is even before like social media, a lot of the top bodybuilders at the time